All right, salam, namaste, vanakkam, and a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages. I'm Samina, your host for today, and it is my absolute pleasure and honor to welcome you all on behalf of M2P Tether community. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Innovations in Payments. As you all know, this evening we're going hybrids. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to all those who've joined us here physically in Bengaluru and all the other folks joining us virtually from different parts of the globe. Thank you all for taking time out and joining us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, to all those who are joining us virtually, I want to let you all know that we do have a chat box, so you can start up conversations there and keep the conversation going through the entire event today. And if you, at any given point in time, have any questions, any queries, please feel free to post them on the chat box. Well, as you all know, when it comes to the future of payments, I think the destination is crystal clear. A world where all of us have expectations and the ability to move money instantaneously with complete, total transparency. The future, of course, is digital, with payment solutions becoming faster, smoother, and more secure. India's payment system won't definitely be an exception. The payments industry is a rapidly changing scene that is constantly in flux due to the introduction of new payment methods, mergers and acquisitions, and new technologies. As the industry moves forward on this journey, an array of new industry initiatives and emerging technologies are seeing transformations. Now, before we open our doors to this world, I have one very important piece of information to share with all of you all. Definitely the folks who've joined us here physically, as well as the people who are joining us virtually. Later today, at the end of our session, we have a very exciting Kahoot quiz lined up for you, a quiz that is going to put your knowledge to test. So please stick around till the very end, participate, because the top performer is also going to win a very exciting gift. I'll tell you more about it a little later, but for now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to look at the purpose, the mission, and the vision behind the Tether community. So we have a very interesting audio-visual coming your way. Let's take a look at the story of Tether.
The strength of the wolf is the strength of the pack. The strength of the pack is the strength of the wolf. Since our founding, M2P has wanted to give back to the community we grew from, which led to the birth of Tether. Tether is a community for like-minded people from across the globe. This includes startup founders, fintech professionals, students, and enthusiasts. Tether, with thousands of members like you, will act as a catalyst in the growth of the fintech industry. Tether also acts as an open forum where participants can reach out to industry experts, learn, and grow. You can achieve mentorship from industry leaders, mentorship for funding, an opportunity to network with peers, and access to a world of events apart from a host of services. Join your peers today. Grow together, tether together.
Well, to tell us more about the story of Tether, I'm going to welcome a very special lady. Can we put our hands together and welcome Archana from M2P Fintech? A big, big, big round of applause for her. Can we all put our hands together, please?
Thank you, Samina. Hello, everybody. I'm Archana from M2P Fintech, and I'm here to give you a brief introduction to Tether. In a nutshell, we are fintech enthusiasts. So that said, there's a lot more obviously to Tether. The idea of Tether has been conceived by like-minded individuals, all of them from backgrounds in financial services ecosystem. So yes, it's robust and it's well-informed. The community, in addition to being a converging point for all things fintech, will also be a space for us to learn a lot and grow together. Exchanging ideas, heated debates, having pros and cons on things. These are things we enjoy. All of us love these interactions. Tether will function as an open forum where people will be able to ask questions and interact not just with each other, but with industry experts. So this will make the whole community bigger, better, and more informed. So we welcome you to join the community. And you'll also get access to a world of events just like this one and more. So to join Tether, log on to our website, tether.community, to join our waitlist and become a member. For people who are joining us virtually, the link is available in the chat section of the screen. Do I need to say more? Join Tether today, and let's all be active participants. In fact, we're going to be part of fintech as it revolutionizes how we transact and live our lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Archana. Can we have a round of applause for her, please? Thank you for so beautifully taking us through the world of Tether. Now, as you all know, ladies and gentlemen, we are a young group, we're vibrant, and we're here to say, and we are on a mission. And on that note, we have a very interesting audio-visual presentation coming your way that takes us through the community vibrancy. Let's take a look.
China's digital yuan replacing dollars dominant. So it's not going to happen anytime soon.
We're very excited to be here. Thank you, Tether.
When we talk about tokenization, right, before tokenization,
entrepreneurship is a real, whether it's a very small business that they run or a, potentially large one. There's a lot of entrepreneurship hustle in every part of the country.
We are doing very well in UPI. Other countries are also adopting the UPI model also, okay?
With the consent of the customers to make sure the token is invalidated or suspended or terminated.
To educate everybody, and the space is very new, and we want to create more champions.
Less confident sometimes. You may have the imposter syndrome. You may feel less suited at times because you are surrounded by a lot of men. And I think we can break that stigma by playing an active role and being in these roles.
There is no one backing the value of a cryptocurrency, but in a CBDC or central digital currency, a central bank is backing the value of the currency.
Customer will have an option to disable international usage.
Probably apply to speak. There are places where you can go and speak as well. So PyCon is one of them. That happens globally, and they sponsor you to even travel.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Innovations in Payments event throws light on the evolution of payments landscape, convergence of technologies for customer delight, and the future of payments. And I take great pride in introducing and welcoming our special guest for the evening, our speaker for the evening. To tell you a little about him, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Vijay Rajagopal, the head of sales and business development at Amazon Pay Offline. Mr. Vijay has a leadership experience of over 16 years in financial services across payments, cards, neo-banking, credit, and amongst others. His expertise includes strategy, business development, enterprise sales, partnerships, operations, and finance. Some of the key roles that he's played in his career are founding leader and head of operations at Zolve Neobank, head of strategy and operations at PayPal, founding leader and national head of business development at Zeta, head of strategy, fintech, and corporate development at Quest Corp. As part of People Capital, he led institutional investments and served as a director on the boards of 5 companies. He's also currently an advisory member at Apple Innovation Center, Financial Inclusion Labs, IIM Kozhikode Startup Accelerator, Flexi Salary, Mool, Plutus, and Vizzy. Ladies and gentlemen, can we all put hands together and welcome this wonderful gentleman who's taken time out to be with us today and to share his knowledge with us. Can we all put hands together and welcome Mr. Vijay Rajagopal.
Thank you.
So the stage is all yours.
Thank you. Thanks. Sure. This is good? All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. Good. Great to be here. Thanks, everyone, for this opportunity. And great to be part of this Tether community. I think you all are doing great work in terms of bringing the fintech ecosystem together. And thanks to M2P for putting this together, right? And I think over the next 40-odd minutes, I'm really looking forward to exchanging thoughts and ideas with you all. And I think the way we'll do this session is, while yes, I have definitely put together some slides in terms of what we'll talk about in payments. I really intend this to be a dialogue where you all share questions. I think those who are here, those who are there joining us virtually, please feel free to share questions through the session. And we have a moderator who is compiling them. In the second half of the session, we will take those questions, and then I will look to address that. Good, right? So should we start on that note? Yeah, all right. Okay, maybe before even I begin, let me ask a quick question. When was the last time that any of you stepped out, right, knowing fully well that you have to make a purchase, but consciously did not carry your wallet with you? Okay, that's a good number of people. Yeah, all right. So something like that. That's a good number of people who are there, who raised their hand. Something like that was actually inconceivable, even like a few years back, right? Like if, let's say a few years back, you had told that to your mom or dad, they would have laughed at you, right? Like so, but that's the power of digital payments, right? Like so you can literally move anywhere without having to carry cash, right? Like that's really the stage to which we have got to, and not just in India. I mean, this is happening across the world. We are, of course, part of a very unique ecosystem, with the convergence of multiple things, coming together, right? And I'll talk about some of that during this session. All right? Okay. So to begin with, I think people keep talking about, okay, is this payments player A versus B versus C versus D? And I say no. It's digital payments versus cash, right? Like so. And you would be surprised at some of the things that you will see here. Even today, right, cash in circulation as a percentage of our GDP is a whopping close to 15%, right? And that's something like 30 lakh crore. And if you have to wrap your head around that number, that's like 3 followed by 13 zeros. That's the quantum of cash that's going around, right, in the country annually. Right? So we are very far from being an economy which can get to being completely digital. We are very, very far. We are making steps. We are making baby steps. But this gives you a sense of what is it that you're really talking when you talk of digital payments, right? And the key thing here being that while cash continues to rise, digital payments have risen faster. Right? That's really the message. And cash, we know, all of us know, has its costs, right? Like there is a cost of printing cash, there is a cost of reprinting cash, there is a cost of replacement cash, there is a cost of transporting cash, right? Like, and literally, the government of India incurs the cost of a few bips of GDP every year, just in terms of being able to handle cash, etc. Right? And we know this really too well. So what is really the panacea to this, in some sense, right? Like so, even if you look at some of the numbers in terms of even other countries, right? Like we are still, from a volume standpoint, far ahead of even our competitors, right? Like so, countries like China are at 43% in terms of cash volume. We are still close to 90%, right? And that's a movement across 10 years, right? So, like I said, we are progressing, and and even with the level of progress that we have done, we have covered a long way. But as they say, right, and miles to go before I sleep, right? Like, so there is really it's a long journey, that we've, in some sense, as a country, we have really just begun over the last few years. Okay, so what is this? So how is really digitization, played out, right? From a payment standpoint. So there are clearly strong tailwinds, right? Like, right from our unbanked population, which is among the world's largest, which means there is a scope for all of them to go digital. There is a clear data explosion, right? And all of us are privy to this, whether it's in terms of the kind of data networks that are going across the country, or to the kind of mobile device penetrations. Clearly, there is a huge data explosion, that's happened across the country. There is a large demography which is very, very suitable to move to digital, right? Like, so if you look at millennials and the Gen Z, they are far, far more tech savvy, right? They are used to social content, they are driven by vernacular content, and they are completely fine with going digital, So, and that's really, where this tailwind is coming from, right? I think it'll be a travesty of justice if we don't mention the kind of regulatory push that has happened in the whole country, right? right from this slew of measures, starting from Aadhaar to eKYC to UPI to OCIN to account aggregation, like you just name it, like both the government and the regulatory bodies and the facilitators have been at it. Right? They have been at it, and they have encouraged. Of course, we all know that demonetization was a huge fillip to digital payments, right? Played a huge fillip, and in the last few years, COVID has also accelerated this even more, right? So those are some of the things that have happened to accelerate this, but definitely the regulator has played a huge part, and it's very important to acknowledge that. There are close to 300 million odd digital active users. I think the different estimates show that we will add close to 1 billion more over the next few years, right? Like that's the kind of digital population that will start adopting these kind of payment methods. And to add to the fact that whether it's in terms of smartphones penetration or in terms of data, I think all that is adding to the whole fillip that digital payments is getting, right? So these are literally the macro factors that are driving digital payments, right? And I think it's important to remember those. What does that result in terms of numbers? Stupendous numbers, right? Like, so we are literally talking over the next few years, reaching close to 250 trillion rupees in terms of digital payments, clear more than 150 billion in terms of annual volumes. And what's even more interesting, in terms of how digital has fared against cash, remember I said that that's really the battle to be won. So in terms of value, right, where 20 years back we were less than 3%, in 20 years we'll be close to 60%. Right? That's really the split between digital and cash that's really playing out. Yeah. So numbers speak, and they speak as loud as what you're seeing. So, like I mentioned, right, one of the key things that happened during COVID was that contactless payments really took off, right? In a recent KPMG study, what came about was that digital payments were like universally accepted and all pervasive, irrespective of gender, irrespective of age groups, irrespective of geographies and so on. So they were all pervasive, really, right? Like, so these numbers speak to that. I mean, you're really talking about more than 54% preferring UPI in tier 3 cities. So please, it is important to understand that this phenomenon is spreading really across the country. So it's not just metro tier 1; it's definitely tier 2, tier 3, and so on. It's across age groups. It's across gender. So there is really no a barrier there. And the per capita payments have really grown 10x like over the last few years. All right. So now, where are we in terms of payment users? The proximity payment users have jumped up. What has really helped some of these things, right? Like, so if you were to step back and think about it in terms of digital payments and how you can really pay. So think about it, like if you take your phone, you scan a QR and pay, that's a digital payment. If you swipe a card, that's a digital payment, right? And the card can even be a credit card or a debit card, right? If you pay via your wallet, that's a digital wallet. That's considered as a digital payment. And these form factors that have evolved have only aided this growth, right? Like whether you see in a feature phone USSD kind of linkage, or in your smartphone with your cameras, like scanning and paying is just so given now, right? Like you flash a QR, people don't even need to be told that, hey, scan this. People automatically scan this. Like that's the kind of behavior change that has really happened. All right. Okay. Now, good with all this data, let's jump into some interesting aspects about one particular element which has really taken the world by storm, right? And that's nothing but UPIs. UPI, actually in my mind, right, like the whole concept architecture and the evolution of UPI, to me is actually India's gift to the world, right? It's really India's gift to the world. Like, so you will realize and appreciate this when you actually step into other countries and you realize how difficult it is to actually get instant payments at zero cost, right? You'll really appreciate this. Like, when you travel abroad and you realize that, hey, it's not as friction free as it is in our home country, right? Like, so, and it's a very important aspect, and no wonder, right? Like that these transactions have literally ballooned more than 50x, like over the last 4 years, right? And today we process close to 40 trillion worth of UPI payments annually, right? And it's very interesting to note that it is not just person-to-person payments; it is also what they call as person-to-merchant payments, right? Like so, and that's important to keep in mind that there is a significant number of UPI transactions happening, when you're doing commerce, right? Commerce at the end of the day is what drives, businesses and economy. And to enable commerce, UPI is really become a strong pillar, right? And numbers, speak for themselves. All right. Okay. So we looked at the data. We looked at some of the landscape that has played out in the payment scene, right? So let's now think about what interesting aspects have played itself out, right? Which has really enabled it. I think the first thing which I really have to show is something called biometric authentication, which all of us are familiar with. There is a short video which I want to talk about, which is about palm scanning systems, something that will probably come to India at very soon, right? We are familiar with fingerprint, we are familiar with iris, etc. But we are familiar with face recognition. Palm scanning is something that will interestingly play itself out. Can we play the video? Okay. Yes.
This is Zoe. Just like you, she uses lots of different cards and IDs to get through her day. What if all Zoe needed was herself? Introducing Amazon One, a free service that lets you use your palm to quickly pay for things, gain access, earn rewards, and more. Let's say you're grabbing your favorite coffee beverage, or heading into the office, or checking out. Just hover your palm and you're on your way. It's as easy as that. Sign up is free and takes less than a minute. All you need is a credit card, your phone number, and your palm. That's it. Since your palm is unique and can't be lost or misplaced, you can get things done quickly and securely. And with more experiences on the way, Amazon One will help you get even more done, simply by being you. Now, Zoe has more time to do what she loves, indoor skydiving. Enter, identify, and pay with Amazon One.
So I want to place the focus on the technology aspect of that slide, right? Where you're really talking of one which is something which is very unique in the sense that you pretty much for all use cases, right? You just make that happen, right? And all you need is a phone and that's it. You're done. I think with a one tip kind of the initial step is where you kind of obviously read your palm and make it integrate with your wallet or a card, etc. And then after that, it's all completely seamless, right? And just wanted to bring out an aspect where through it's literally like a contactless technology, but you can take it to different levels, right? You can take it to like I think you would have seen the lady, like she came into office, she ordered stuff, she paid, she took stuff from a kiosk. So there are so many use cases you can extend it to, right? And every use case, at the end of the day, I really believe that commerce, right? And you can't have commerce without payments, right? Like, and the entire world's economy runs on commerce, right? So to that extent, payments is to commerce like breathing is to life, like in some sense, right? Like, so you can't have one without the other, right? And the more you make payments seamless, friction-free, easy, and in some sense almost invisible, right? Like I think where we will head to, I think the truly evolved world is, in my mind, when you actually make payments invisible, where as a customer you don't even realize that the payment is happening, right? It just happens, right? Like so, either you have set up instructions or you've given a voice command or in whatever way you have activated it, but payments actually happens invisible. In my mind, that's actually where if we get to that, I think we would have really evolved as an economy, right? So that's really where we can get to. Some of the other form factors clearly are in terms of the other point of sale devices. I think more and more you will start seeing devices which are kind of all in one, right? Like so earlier you would have seen that you will swipe a card on one machine, the QR will be in another place. etc., etc. And you may even receive a notification through another device. But more and more, I mean, in some sense, right, like how your mobile phone brought everything together, right? You could, you no longer needed a camera separately. You no longer needed another device to access the internet. You no longer needed another device to take photos. Like how everything came together, it's already started happening. In the offline world, you have devices, right, where linked to your phone, it can accept payments of all types and modes, be it card, UPI, wallet, QR, etc., etc. It can flash payment confirmations. It can even to the merchant, depending on the device, show intelligent reports and dashboards and analytics and so on. Right? So all of that is coming together, and that's another innovation, which is really playing itself out, in the payments landscape. All right. Okay. Moving forward, there is one interesting regulation-led or NPCI-led innovation, that's really happening, and I think it'll, it's just started. I think it'll really pick up, over a period of time, and that innovation, has been focused at feature phone customers. Right today, I think through various estimates, the feature phone customers are anywhere between 20 to 30 crore customers in India have feature phones. So with a feature phone, you would appreciate you can't scan and pay, right? Like you can't. So how do I make UPI work on a feature phone, right? So the first step to that was USSD. USSD is cumbersome, it's not very easy, etc. So this is an added layer on top of it, right? Where you either give a missed call, you get a call back, and you say that I want to pay X person, and you enter your UPI PIN, and the payment happens, right? So or you get into an IVR mode, where you call a particular number, and that number takes you through a set of steps, right? So the other thing which is actually helping this initiative is what they call as UPI Mapper, right? Which NPCI has launched, and in fact, different payment firms are already adopting it. It's nothing but today. So you would realize that QR codes are interoperable, right? So when they first launched, they were not interoperable, which means that you could use Paytm to only scan a Paytm QR, etc., etc. But today you can literally use any app to scan any QR, right? Now you extend the same concept to UPIs, which means that let's say I know my friend's phone number. I don't really need to know whether my the person is on which UPI app. Like I don't need to check whether they are with Google Pay or Phone Pay, etc. I just get their number and pay. That is really what will happen very soon, right? You can you just search for a number and pay, irrespective of which UPI app the receiver is in, and it applies both for customer to customer payments and for customer to merchant payments, right? So all you need is a phone number. That's really the world that we are getting to, right? And that initiative called as UPI Mapper, that interoperability of UPI IDs and phone numbers is what will also help this voice-based payment initiative of 123 Pay, because let's say I am calling my friend, right, and I say pay 100 rupees to XYZ person. There should be a way to recognize that XYZ person whose number is whatever the 10-digit number is mapped to a certain UPI ID. Right, and that mapping, in some sense, you can think of it like a two-column table, right, where your UPI ID and your phone number are mapped, and the payment actually goes to that person, right? So for you to happen, and it sounds simple, but at the back end it's extremely complex. Because you're literally dealing with millions and millions of data, right? And it needs to happen instantly. Think about it, right? Like let's say anybody in your contact list, it's like probably the most powerful, in some sense, a search algorithm that you can think of, right? You call anybody and you say transfer XYZ rupees, and that person's UPI ID needs to be mapped and the payment has to go, right? So that's the power of what is happening, right? So sometimes we do not realize the power of things that come to us because of the simplicity, right? So when UPI first came, people realized it was simple, and only when when the numbers started exploding, people realized how powerful it is, right? 123 Pay has a similar ability to do that, especially for feature phone users, etc. Right? And I think that's something which is very interestingly playing itself out. The other aspect which I think some of us would already be familiar with, is through our devices. It could be Alexa or Google Home, any device, where you can actually instruct it to pay, right? Already, some of you might have tried this. You can ask Alexa, right? If you're an Amazon user, you can ask Alexa to check out, right? And it'll automatically pay, right? And you can even do more things, right? Like, so if you've linked your bill once, you can say that, pay your electricity bill or your mobile bill or your gas bill or your recharge, etc. It can automatically do that, right? And that's really, what I think where we are getting to with voice-based payments. I think it saves the trouble of literally, opening the app, entering the PIN, etc., etc. It is, in some sense, this is one step in the path towards being invisible, right? Like where, like you don't need to go hunting for a device. You just tell Alexa, hey, pay my electricity bill, and it happens at the back end. Like how beautiful is that? And imagine you doing that for everything and everybody. Like I think it's like, if you think about our everyday use cases, we pay people all the time, right? Like, so it could be the newspaper person, the milk person, a car driver, anybody, right? And we took it one step forward by saying that, okay, now you open an app and pay. You can take it one more step forward by saying that, okay, just instruct and it'll pay. The payment will happen automatically, right? That's really the evolution, that's happening right in front of our eyes. I mean, it's not that, this will take time to play out, or it's in the future. This is happening right in front of us. Yeah. So that's again in the power of UPI 123 Pay and voice-based payments. There is one more initiative which I wanted to touch upon, which essentially, literally in some sense, you can think of it as magic, right? So what's magic? You don't need internet to pay, right? You don't need internet to pay. Just think about this. Today, can you pay digitally without an internet connection? Yes or no? You can't. Like you need some form of internet to pay, to make a payment digitally, right? Like so. But there is one initiative called UPI Lite, right, which the beginnings have just come a few months back. Again, regulator-led, and obviously I think in the way these things pan out is that there is a first soft launch, and then there is feedback taken from the industry and the ecosystem, and then it is built upon more and more, and then it kind of evolves to a final product. So UPI Lite is nothing but like a balance, right? Which is kept on your phone. Right? So today, if you use a digital wallet, whatever be it, whether it's a Paytm wallet or an Amazon Pay balance, you'll know that there is a certain balance which you can use anytime, right? So this was meant for people with very high volume but very low ticket, right? And they did not want all this to kind of sit on top of the existing UPI infrastructure, because the infrastructure, any infrastructure has limitations, right? Like so. They wanted a different kind of use case for really high volume, low ticket kind of payments, which could happen very fast. This was meant for that, and especially in low internet, remote regions. Let's say you are on a trek over the weekend. You're high up in the mountain, but you still want to pay somebody, but there is no net, right? Like what do you do? And so it's not that these use cases will not apply to us. They will apply to us, right? Like there will be pockets where we might not have the internet, but we would still want the convenience to pay rather than wait for getting to a place where you would still access the internet. So this is meant for that. Essentially, it's a one-device wallet. So it debits from your wallet, and credits happen to the bank account, which is linked to the wallet. The phase 1 today, what will get rolled out is debit offline, and the credit will happen online. So there is one side which is connected still. Phase 2 is pretty much the final version where both will be completely offline. Offline in the sense no internet, right? So literally, we can get to a world of no internet-based payments, and I think it's exciting, just to think about this. The current transaction limits for each such payment is rupees 200. The wallet limit is rupees 2,000. That's where we have started with this. All right. So with that, I think there is one last thing which I want to talk about, which so just to kind of take a step back and see what is it that we have looked at till now, right? Like so, we saw how the real battle is in terms of winning against cash, right? It's not about payment provider A versus B. The real win is when you really bring down the amount of cash consumption in the country, which saves so much cost for the government to be able to spend in other productive ways, right? That's the first aspect we saw. Second, in our country, key factors including demography, regulations, the kind of mobile usage, data penetration, etc. We saw within that how UPI has really taken off, and it's like grown massively as a free cost, safe, instant payment system, which in some sense, was the first unique of its kind for the entire world. Then we saw what are some of the innovations, that are kind of playing itself out. We looked at biometric payments, palm scanning. We saw what is 123 Pay in terms of voice-based payments, Alexa-led payments, which you could make. We saw UPI Lite, and there is one last thing which I'm going to get to, right? Which all of us I think can relate to it in some sense. Like today, imagine any supermarket that you're getting into, right? You get into a supermarket. Can you conceive of a supermarket where there are no cashiers, where there are no checkout counters, right? Where there is nothing. Literally, you just walk in and walk out. You walk in, pick, you purchase, and you walk out. Can you even conceive of that, right? It's possible, right? And I'll just take a minute to show you now how that's possible. It's something called Go, and it's I'll let you watch it.
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
Hope you like that one. So what we will do now is we will take some questions, both here and those that have come virtually.
Yes, what we'll do is we'll start off the Q&A session for the physical audience here, and in the meantime, consolidate the questions that we've received from the online viewers. Yes?
Sure.
Does anybody have any questions here right now?
Yes, Rajesh.
Thank you. Excellent presentation. The palm-based device that you mentioned, two questions. One is that technology that's evolved by y'all, and are y'all going to manufacture or license it to an external device manufacturer? And second is, who's the acquirer? Is it your own entity, your own license, etc.?
Yeah. So two things there, Rajesh. So firstly, it started in the US. So there it is, the device is manufactured by a third-party entity. And then we kind of use that in a licensing form. The acquirer also is a third-party bank that we use to acquire the payments.
So it's replicable now?
It is replicable. It's replicable in India, yes.
Interesting.
So given the pervasiveness of other forms of payment here, Amazon still hasn't introduced it yet, but I just thought that the whole technology aspect of that is beautiful, which is why I brought it out.
Perfect. So is this something that Amazon India will drive going forward?
Not really, Rajesh, because that is something that will take time. And again, every country has its own dynamics. So it'll really depend on what the country dynamics call for. Yeah.
Okay, clear.
Hi.
Hi.
So for countries that are very keen about financial inclusion, like if you think of a Kenya that was really trying to bring underbanked populations into the digital sort of foray, they started with M-Pesa
Yeah.
on feature phones. They
Yeah.
started with USSD and
Correct.
then they moved to smartphones.
Correct.
Why do you think India has done the reverse? Like it seems like we're only now thinking of how to include the,
Yeah.
the absolutely marginalized.
Yeah, that's a great question actually. So the reason in India that we kind of reversed and we adopted more, from a scan and from a smartphone usage, and then and then are looking at other options. So by the way, the feature phone and the smartphone functionalities came at the same time. But what really happened was two things happened. One is the device manufacturers kept bringing down the price and making it so affordable in a country like India that the usage really exploded, right? Like, I think we literally doubled every 2 years in terms of, the devices, smartphone devices, that could be used because you literally drove down the cost to such cheaper levels. That is one. Second is the cost of data. I don't know, people realize that, data which used to cost quite a bit is now available very cheap. Right, like, and literally even depending on the plan, even sometimes even free of cost, right? Like, so data and the device penetration really exploding led to us adopting so much more, the smartphone based payments from the customer side. Now, from the payment provider side, I think, definitely a lot of work has happened by all the payments players, right? In terms of making sure that, today you have, by various estimates, almost 20 to 30 million QRs in the country. That's a large number, right? Like if you take the overall merchant base itself as, anywhere between 60 to 80 million, the organized ones, even including the small shops, that's a significant penetration of places where you can actually go and pay, right? So it's a two-sided thing, right? Like you can enable it on the customer side, but someone needs to do it at the merchant side, and both have happened, right? So which is really what has enabled that. Yeah.
May I do a quick follow-up? Please. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. It was great to see that more than 54% of tier 3 people surveyed wanted UPI, preferred UPI payments. Do you think that's a younger audience, and how people in the space, how even bigger companies in the space working with maybe government, maybe NGOs, anyone to sort of drive the behavioral change aspect,
Yeah.
and the cultural taboo aspect?
Yeah, it's already happening, because I think again 2-3 things are driving it. One, even in tier 3, tier 4, thanks to, now information is free, right? Like, and data again is free, right? So there is no difference between someone accessing that information in metros vis-a-vis someone accessing it in tier 3. And aspirations are universal. Its aspirations don't change. And when people want to move up, they want to move up, right? Like irrespective of where they reside in. And I think COVID has also taught us, right, that really where you reside in doesn't matter in some sense. So all those have really also accelerated that. Of course, all of these happen in tandem, right? There is a macro push. People's aspirations go up. Payment providers keep expanding to hinterlands. E-commerce providers have been expanding to hinterlands. Thanks to COVID, I think, people realize that more and more things could be done digitally, right? And over and above that, there is a governmental push thanks to Jandan and thanks to some of the schemes. So all of these go in tandem.
Hey, hi. I just wanted to get your take on the NCPI putting a 30% limit, right, on UPI, one player not having more than 30% limit. What is your take on, because now there's so many others like Tata to Ambani to everyone is getting into the UPI space.
Yeah. So I think 2-3 aspects to that which are important, right? Like, so the first thing is, the very start of UPI had its origins in iSpirit and NPCI, right? Like that's really where, in some sense, UPI got incubated. So to some extent, there is a sense of UPI being given to the country and it having to be responsibly owned, right? That is one element. The second element is that there is a sense that it needs to be de-risked from single player or just few player dependencies, right? Again, the greater good of the people and the volumes, and today we are talking of 40 trillion rupees of payments, right? So it's not a small number, right? So the moment the numbers are so high, then the onus on also the regulator and the government to ensure that nothing comes to derail that is also happens, right? Like, and you can argue both ways, but there is a certain rationale behind why things are being proposed, right? Now, on the other hand, you can say that it's a free market. It should, play itself out the way it is. Yes, it's a free market. However, this good, in some sense, is also perceived as partly a public good. So there are these angles, which are playing out, and I think while today there is a certain framework in terms of how the numbers are laid out. I don't think it's cast in stone. I think proper representation and proper adequate cases to change those numbers will always result in movements there. And in fact, if you see, that's been reflective of how the approach of the government and the regulator there is, irrespective of anything. It's not only for the market share of UPI payments. You take GST, for example, right? Like, what has been the approach? The approach has been, I put something, I learn from industry bodies, I'll tweak it, I'll come back, right? I mean, in some sense, it's like a startup-like approach, right? You experiment, see what works, then, you make changes, then you go back into the market. In some sense, you can draw an analogy to that. Yeah.
Yeah, where do you see the future of UPI and digital payment in India?
Yeah, so I think, definitely like continuously increasing numbers, right? Like, so I think the trends are all very evident. I think some of the graphs which I put out, I think the trajectory is clearly upward. There are strong macro, tailwinds driving that, and I don't think we are going to stop, right? I think, so actually it reminds me of something which Bezos used to say, right? So he said that people always used to ask him, what will change in 10 years? Right? Like, what will change in 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. He says the important question is what will not change in 5 years or 10 years, right? Like, what will not change? So what will not change is that consumers will want faster payments, they'll want lower prices, they will want more selection. That's not going to change. You're not going to say 5 years down the line that today, if you receive a payment in a minute, I'll wait for 10 minutes. That's not going to happen. Right? Today, if you get your food ordered in 10 minutes, you're not going to say that, no, I'll wait for 30 minutes. Right? You always want it faster, better, at a lesser price. So that's not going to change. And it's an important insight to keep in mind as we talk about, how the future will look like.
We have one more question here. If you can just pass on the mic, please.
Hello. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing. It was really insightful.
Yeah.
While we spoke about the tailwinds, there is a very prominent headwind in space, and that is basically over-reliance on the regulators. So the entire landscape is heavily dependent on that. So I had 2 points on that. One is that over these years, we have realized that the market penetration and the share of the players in the space is heavily dependent on user experience and product positioning. So what are your thoughts on that for the existing players and the players wanting to jump inside this? The key elements to keep in mind about that.
Got it. So if your concern is that is too much regulatory intervention a challenge to more players coming in? At least if you look at data, right, in terms of the number of across startups and especially in the fintech space, firms which have come in to really make a difference, across credit, neobanking, payments, insurance, wealth tech, I think the numbers have just been tremendously increasing. That's also because I feel, in some sense, we have kind of cracked the code in terms of what works, right? Because nobody is coming and saying that I am going to become a bank, because banks are good at it. They've been doing that for decades. They know what they're good at. So the mantra in my mind is actually partnerships, right? You partner and make it work, right? And I think we are already seeing signs of that being successful. It will only continue to increase. And see, I think some sense, the regulatory oversight, is always necessary. And I would say it's because one, it's a financial system. You can't move away from the regulator. And second, I think in general, right, to reduce systemic risk, it's important for regulatory oversight to be there as long as it doesn't interfere in the way of business, which I don't think it does to a large extent today, right? It doesn't. In fact, more and more dialogues only facilitate partnerships and business rather than trying to block it.
So thanks for that. Yeah, and the follow-up on that, when you talk about a product for social good with zero cost, what are the identifiable currently are the potential revenue streams and the value adds for the players in this space that you foresee? Definitely, they need to have a value when they are providing the service, right?
Any
So data.
particular product you have in mind?
So I'm not specifically speaking about the app-based implementation, also the complete experience like Amazon Go that you mentioned. Right?
Yeah.
So there is definitely a data insight aspects which can be fueled into
Yes.
other products. That is a value add from the organization's perspective. Are there any other incentives or the value adds from the players who are participating in this that you identify?
So I'll just rephrase the question for the benefit of the group here and for those who've joined us virtually. The question is, if you have a good a product, right, which is free of cost or almost free of cost, what else can you do to make it viable for people who are actually introducing it, right? Like that's essentially what you're asking. See, there are multiple things, right? I think people always know that the customer is key, right? So if I'm able to get to the customer with a product, right, then there are enough and more opportunities to cross-sell to the customers, irrespective of whether I have the product or somebody else has the product, right? I think people are, because the consumer's mind share is so important. The moment you have a product offering where you've gained his trust, you can always rally other things to the same customer, because you've already built that trust, right? I mean, in some sense, a very rough analogy, right? If you look at the Tata group, right? Like look at the number of businesses that they are in, but there is a common thread of the Tata brand which runs through them, right? Like, and I mean, in some sense, for a lot of customers, it connotes like trust and longevity. And there is a certain impression that you have about the brand, and that applies for any brand. I just took the group as an example, but applies to any brand. So which means that tomorrow, if you as a firm are launching newer products, right? If you have built that trust credibility with one product with the customer, you are in a much better position to launch other products which could result in monetizing opportunities for you, right? You could monetize it directly. You could have other people who want that customer base who would be willing to pay you for access. Yeah?
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions from the audience here? We have one more gentleman with a question.
Hi, this is Vamsi.
Hi.
How do you see the impact of CBDCs and cryptos on digital payments?
Sorry, please repeat that.
How do you see the impact of CBDCs and cryptos on digital payments?
Got it. Digital. So your question is in terms of central bank digital currencies and cryptocurrencies. Okay. So like every other payment mode, right? Like cryptos as a phenomenon has been playing itself out. I think especially last few years has again accelerated more so across the world, right? In India, I think we are slowly starting to see legitimacy of some of those, especially in the recent budget. There were the first time that a taxation on crypto investments come about. So how it will play itself out, I think honestly I think it's a question where people are still experimenting and learning, right? So like as with any trend or a fad, there are proponents on both sides. There are cases to be made for why its advantages. There are cases to be made for why its disadvantages. And I think I think the way it will play out, I think will finally depend on what is the customer pain point it solves. Right? I think if you keep that at the center, right, then I think the answers will play itself out, because the customers and the stakeholders and the banks and the financial entities and the widespread nature of this, right? When I say widespread, it's across the world in some sense. It makes it complex, but because it's such a new, it's a relatively newer phenomenon which promises freedom, right? I think the promise of freedom literally kind of captivates everybody. Like it's like a literally free to move money across the world, free for a complete decentralized entity, etc. So it'll play itself out. I mean, I think and what you're going to see happening, and it's happening, is that central banks are going to be more and more guarded, which is actually the reason why they started issuing their own currencies. And you're going to see institutions being guarded about this, and people wanting this more and more. So it's like a tension which will play itself out over the next few years.
All right, I think we'll move on to the questions from our virtual audience. Please share the global versus Indian scenario for offline payments and regulations encouraging it in India.
Got it. Okay. So if you take the Indian scenario itself, right? Like today we have anywhere between, from a market size standpoint, roughly around 50, 60 odd million merchants, who are offline. If you look at their extent of digitizing, which means anyone who has a QR or has a POS device or something, it's roughly between 30 to 40% is what they've got digitized. That number, for India is considerably higher, definitely compared to other developing countries. The key difference between the Indian offline merchants market and the external ones is that, especially the developed countries, is that the developed countries started off from a card-based model. Like, so today you go to a country like US, more than 75% of digital payments happen via card, right? Like, so it's a very card-first economy. Ours has not been like that. All said and done, even today UPI stands as the highest number in terms of digital payments. So there is a fundamental difference between the landscape of both the countries, right? Like, and I think it's a larger question, because I think it's world versus India. It's not like that, because even across the world there are various disparities in terms of different the different developed countries and other developing countries, etc. So it's literally a country A versus country B conversation. So, but I think the key things to realize is that we are in a very unique, evolved spot as a country.
All right, wonderful,
Yeah.
thank you. Our next question is, when was UPI Lite introduced? Are there similar payment models in other geographies?
Got it. UPI Lite was first launched as a working paper earlier this year. I think it was in March, roughly, when NPCI made a soft announcement. Before that, there were working papers in terms of drafts that came out, recommendations were received, and so on. But I think March this year was when actually the formal launch happened. And the second question was...
Are there any similar payment models in other geographies?
Not really. I think that underscores the point that I made about UPI really being India's gift to the world. So UPI Lite is India's light gift to the world.
Great, wonderful. Our next question is, Amazon Go is a brilliant idea, but how will the reconciliation and grievances be addressed?
I will not be in a position to take that for confidentiality reasons.
All right, okay, moving on to the next question. How are you seeing the adoption of payments through CBDCs, and what technology changes can you see from a fintech or bank's perspective?
Yeah, we just had the CBDC
the same,
question
yes,
by
all
a
right.
gentleman. Yes.
And then the next one is, with the RBI guidelines of having geotagging of all payment devices in the country, what could be the impact on the payment providers?
It's actually a positive impact, because I think what they're trying to do is to circle down on where the payment is happening. And this is actually a directive which has gone to all payments players in terms of ensuring that anywhere payments are tagged, right? So you kind of are able to locate the source. I think it'll help, because I think once you're able to locate the payment source, then I think you can do a lot more with the user. Looking at data on the number of transactions, you can drive some interesting insights and analytics and so on. I think it's a positive step.
All right, and final question, what about the security of the payment when there is no checkout?
I think probably the question with respect to Amazon Go. So the security is actually inbuilt in the whole technology. I think the video showed clips of it. It is linked to the card, which actually sits, sits at the back end. So security is actually inbuilt, right? And I think that's the whole philosophy of having a no checkout kind of experience. I think the analogy is to self-driven cars, right? Like where sensors make the movement. So here sensors detect movements of the individual.
Well, for me personally, it was like seeing a scene from a very futuristic sci-fi movie.
Got it.
But thank you for so graciously answering all those questions. I'd like to quickly request the co-founder of M2P FinTech, Mr. Madhusudanan, to kindly come forward and present Mr. Vijay with a small token of our appreciation for his presence here today and this great, very engaging, interesting session.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thank you.
Can we have a mic passed on to this gentleman, please? Like Mr. Madhusudanan to say a few words.
Thank you, Vijay. Thanks for taking the time and talking to the community. I think you touched on a few items which are very close to my heart. Often we sort of have this notion, right, about India not being a product organization, a product country, right? There's no Google that has come out of India. There's no Facebook. I think UPI is probably the answer to that. That's one. And the other notion that we often come, it's more, with the work that we do, is around the fact that most fintech action that happens around the world is always competing with the banks. So it's going and disrupting an existing banking ecosystem. But India is probably the only country where there is partnership, cooperation that's happening, right? And while it's still sort of very early from an evolution standpoint, and we're probably less than 10 years
as an industry, we already see that innovation cycle from a time standpoint, coming down, right? So back in the day, back in 2012, 13, when wallets came into existence, it took banks, probably 3 or 4 years to catch up with that, right? So to really figure out what this is, why they should be doing it, because banks always came with that bent of mind that it has to make money. But the wallet story was not about making money, but to actually drive engagement, right? Once they latched onto it, there's barely any difference between what a large wallet provider could do and what a large bank could do. But that 3-year cycle time is now crashed to 2 or 3 quarters, right? So if you look at BNPL, there are as many banks that are wanting to do BNPL as many as well-funded startups, right? So there are as many neobanks, and regulator just opened up a digital sort of banking, licensing kind of a regime, which means that more and more banks are going to sort of do digital banks, right? So therefore, as an ecosystem, there's no better time to be, and no better place than to be in India driving sort of fintech. Therefore, we are very excited about the community and how we can sort of figure out and help each other. Thanks for your contribution and sparing the time to talk to the audience. Thank you. Yeah.
Completely echo that, Madhu. I think very well said. I think it's truly, we are the country where partnership is really the motto, and how things are panning out. I think we are grateful. We should be grateful that we are in this time and age, and we are able to see this kind of opportunity pan out. But thanks everyone. Thanks for this. I enjoyed this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vijay. Thank you for accepting our invitation and being here today. And once again, a big round of applause for him. Thank you. All right, no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, the payment sector is going through rapid evolution, and we're right in the center of it. Of course, this gentleman took us through the way forward, but all that aside, it's time for the Kahoot quiz. I hope everyone who's joined us virtually is still around to participate. Now, I'm going to take you quickly through the basics of participating in this. First and foremost, either you download the Kahoot app or you log into kahoot.com. That's what you need to do. Once you have done that, you will be asked for a game pin, which will be on your screen. And then you'll have to key in your game pin. So once, like I said, the game pin is on your screens. Just key that in as the game pin. Once you have done that, now they will request for your names. There'll be a request for your name, especially for the audience who are joining us virtually. This is extremely important that you key in your Zoom handle. That has to be your name here as well. Please do not change your names. Please key in your Zoom handle as the name here at this Kahoot platform. This is essential because we're giving out a very exciting prize to our top performer. So we're going to need to know who you are, and we can only identify you via your Zoom handle. That being said, there are going to be a total of 21 questions. Each question will come with 4 options that you can choose from. Each question you will get 20 seconds to give the answer for. Now on your screen, on the Kahoot platform, you will see the 4 options as just colors. They will be represented only in terms of 4 different colors, but the options will be displayed on the screen for you with the 4 options that you can choose from with the words. So please make sure you take a look at that. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, there are 2 criteria, right? First is that you get the answer right, and second is that you do it as quick as possible. So our winner is basically going to be the person who not only gets the right answer, but gets the right answer the quickest. And after every question, we are going to be displaying the scoreboard. So we're going to be completely, totally transparent, just like our transactions and our payments. So you can see who's on lead via the scoreboard. Okay, and finally, one winner who does best is going to get a very exciting gift. We're ready? Do we have enough people logged in? Are we ready to get this started? Okay, we have quite a few people who've joined in. Again, please key in your names that are your Zoom handles so there's no confusion. We'll just give 2 more minutes maybe for others also to join in. Once again, you're going to be requested for a game pin that's currently displayed on your screens. Please use that to log in on the Kahoot platform. Once you've done that, it's going to request for a name. Please key in your Zoom handle. And then I think we can get started. A minute more for you all to get your game faces on. They're going to be very simple questions with Very easy answers as well. In fact, if you've paid attention to what Mr. Vijay had to say, I'm sure you'll get the answers to most of the questions. Start? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to kickstart our Kahoot quiz. Let's take a look at our first question. And here we go. Come on. What does UPI stand for? Again, you have 4 options. Please look at the screen. So you know what your 4 options are and choose the best answer, the right answer. You get a total of 20 seconds to key in your answer. At the end of the 20 seconds, we will be displaying the scorecard, the scoreboard. Okay, we have 27 people have chosen option A, 10 people option B, 0 option C, and 3 people option D. Can we go to the next one and see? Okay, Raj Mohan is on top as of now. Raj Mohan not only got the right answer, but also was the first one to key in the right answer. So he's at the top right now. Let's move on. Can we go about this a little quicker? Who has made eKYC mandatory for financial situations? Choose the right answer. Fastest fingers first. That's what we're looking for here. The sooner you do it, the better your chances of making it to the top. All right, 39 folks have chosen RBI. Let's see who's gotten the right answer. Tijak Mujak. I hope I pronounced the name right, but he's on top. Our next question, RTGS is a fund transfer mechanism. What is the full form of RTGS? That's the question. You have 4 options to choose from. We're on our third question. Time's up. Moving on to let's just go to the scorecard. Okay, Tijak is still on top with 2,746 points. Congratulations. Our next question. UPI 123 Pay will work on simple phones, and it also does not require an internet connection. True or false? This is a true or false question. Forty-three have chosen true. Let's see who's on top. Super Shetty is on top and has a streak with 4 correct answers in a row. Congratulations, Super Shetty, you're doing really well. Keep up the great work. Moving on to question number 5. Which bank launched the first credit card in India? That's a good one. Which bank launched the first credit card in India? I'm so glad I'm hosting this and not competing, because I think I'd be really bad at this. But let's see the answer that most of you all have chosen. There's a tie between, I'll say, 7 State Bank of India and Central Bank of India. Let's see who's gotten the right answer. Tijak is back on top. And we have 5 players who've reached a streak of 4 right answers back to back. That's fabulous. Moving on to our next question. What is the maximum amount that can be paid via UPI Lite? What is the maximum amount that can be paid via UPI Lite? Let's take a look at who is on top of the scoreboard. We have a new contender. Rohini is on top. Combo breaker. 5 players just dropped their answers. Streak of 4. Okay, congratulations, Rohini. Moving on to the 7th question, which is the first online payment system in India. Which is the first online payment system in India. Okay, 22 folks have voted for Bill Desk, but let's see who's on top. Tijak is back on top. Congratulations. All right. Which of the following is a smartphone app built using a UPI interface? Which of the following is a smartphone app built using a UPI interface? All right. Let's see who's on top. Tijak manages to stay on top. Congratulations. All right, let's move on to the next one. We have Ranjit, who's climbed 11 positions. Congratulations. Which is the umbrella organization for all retail payment systems in India? Which is the umbrella organization for all retail payment systems in India? Okay, Tijak is still on top. Congratulations. Domination. This is total domination by Tijak. Okay, which country is the global leader in real-time financial transactions with 41 million transactions per day? All right. India was the right answer. And Tijak is still on top with 7,443 points. Congratulations. Question number 11. How many digits are there in mobile money identifier MMID? How many digits are there in mobile money identifier? Okay, 6, no. 7 seems to be the right answer, but looks like a lot of you all have chosen 6. But Srinivas is on top. Congratulations. Srinivas has 7,684 points. Which bank recently launched its first digital branch named Candy in Bengaluru? All right, let's see who's gotten the answer the quickest. Tijak, okay, he's back in number 1 position. 13th question. RegTech is a vertical of fintech. True or false? This is the true or false question. True is the right answer, and Tijak managed to get the right answer and also did so the quickest, so he's on top once again. Moving on to the next one. Which of the following banks did PhonePe launch India's first UPI-based mobile payments app? Which of the following banks did PhonePe launch India's first UPI-based mobile payments app? Time's up. The answer is right there on the screen for you, but let's see if... Okay, Tijak got it right once again. And as always, acing the game. Congratulations, Tijak. Moving on to the next one. UPI and UPI Lite are the same. True or false? UPI and UPI Lite are the same. True or false? False is the right answer. And Rishabh is on top. We have a new contender. Rishabh is in number 1 position. Congratulations. Next question. 16th question. What is the common name for UID? The common name for UID? Aadhar, and let's see who's gotten on top again. Rishabh, back to being on top. Congratulations, Rishabh. I think we have 2 top contenders, Tijak and Rishabh. DigiLocker was rolled out in which year? DigiLocker was rolled out in which year? That's your next question. (2015). All right, let's see who's in our number 1 position. Okay, Rishabh manages to hold on to the number 1 position. Moving on to our next question. 18th question. At what intervals should one update their KYC? All right, let's see who is in our number 1 position right now. Rishabh manages to stay on top. Congratulations. Moving on to our next question. What does 123 Pay do? Moving on to the scoreboard. Congratulations, Rishabh. Still on top. 2 more questions to go. Which UPI app is owned by the government? That's your next question. Which UPI app is owned by the government? And Rishabh is still in number 1 position. Moving on to our final question this evening. Which country first started UPI payments in the world? Which country first started UPI payments in the world? Okay, we have 38 folks have chosen India, which happens to be the right answer. Okay, in 3rd position, we have Super Shetty. Congratulations. In 2nd position, we have Srinivas. And in number 1 position with 14,809 points, we have Rishabh. Congratulations, Rishabh. So, as promised, Rishabh, we have a very exciting gift for you. It'll be absolutely great if you can send in your email ID and your details on the chat box, the comment box, while we have our representatives getting in touch with you. I hope your Zoom handle is the same as the name that you've keyed in here. But thank you all so much for participating. I hope that was fun. We had great fun hosting the Kahoot quiz. And up next, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to take a minute to honor the other community members who are here with us today. So can we all put our hands together and welcome Pratik from Toastmasters International Community. A big round of applause for him. Can we hand a mic over to him, please? Can we have a mic? Yes. Come on, guys. Can we put our hands together and welcome Pratik?
Hello.
Pratik, do you want to share a few words? We don't have too much time, but...
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for giving me this opportunity. It was really wonderful being part of this session and learning so much about payments. Again, this is an area where I'm really interested in. So if you saw Super Shetty, that was me. So
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Give him a round of applause. Come on, guys. Yes.
Right. To share a bit about what Toastmasters is, it has nothing to do with cooking. It is all to do with public speaking, coming on stage and speaking, or just improving your confidence, or to give better presentations. Probably the sorry. Yeah. So giving better presentations and things like that. So this is a community which was started by a gentleman called Ralph C. Smedley about 98 years back. And what he noticed was that his friends are not able to, in a Christian wedding, basically what happens is the best man or your best friend stands up and raises a toast. Right? That's where the word Toastmaster comes from. So he noticed that his friends weren't able to do that, or they were stuttering, they were not able to speak fluently, things like that. So that's where he started this, from that one single club or that one single group that he created then. Today we have over 30,000 clubs all over the world, in over 100 countries, and there are about at least 4 to 5 lakh people who are part of this community all over the world. There are a few clubs in Koramangala itself, and there are about 150 clubs in Bangalore. If any one of you wants to be a member of any of those clubs, you can just reach out to me. And yeah, once again, thanks to be part of this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Pratik. I'm going to quickly request Mr. Muthukumar, co-founder of M2P FinTech, to kindly come forward and present Pratik with a small token of her appreciation for being here with us. Can we have a round of applause for him, please? Thank you so much, Super Shetty. May I next request Vamsi, the co-founder at Carpine, to kindly join us and share a few words with us. Can we put hands together and welcome Vamsi?
Hi guys, kindly excuse me for my very bad sore throat. I'm not going to take much time. I'm Vamsi, co-founder of Carpine Technologies, which is into blockchain technology. We build solutions like anti-counterfeit, track and trace, warehouse automation kind of technologies using IoT and blockchain technology. This is in short about me. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm going to request you to stay back while I once again invite Mr. Muthukumar, the co-founder of M2P FinTech, to come forward and present Mr. Vamsi with a token of her appreciation. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you had fun. And I hope it was an informative session that you're taking back today. And finally, we have Adarsha from Wisdom World Public Speaking Community. Can we put hands together and welcome Adarsha? Guys, if your hands are free, please put your hands together. Yes, thank you.
So can you guys just imagine a shy guy coming on stage and talking like this? This is because of the community. So I was a part of community-based learning platform. That made me confident. And thank you. Thank you for clap. And community made me to meet one of my inspiration, Vinita Singh, the CEO of Sugar. So luckily, I got to have a deal with her, and I hope to work with her. And that's the power of community. And community can make every dream possible. And I too have a dream to make this human community a happy place. I want every employee, every organization, every kid to live a happy life. And with you, with the help of everybody, with the help of community, we can make it possible. And just before signing off, I have one reminder for all of you. Community is all about you. It's not about how I do or what I do. It's all about how you give it to the society. And thanks for the opportunity. And I'm lovely, and because of the part of the Tether community, I'm feeling so proud about this. And I just want to thank thank you. I just want to thank Mr. Vivek for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. It has been a happy moment for me.
Thank you so much. Very happy to have you on board as well. Can I request Mr. Muthukumar to kindly once again join us on stage? Thank you so much, Adarsha. This is a very inspiring, passionate speech, I must say. Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that we come to the end of Innovations in Payments. I'd like to thank all of you all for being a part of this event, a very special initiative by the Tether community. Now, again, I'd like to remind you all, if you aren't already a member, please join us. We're going to display our link of the website. Yes, that's going to be displayed on your screens. Please join us as a member. Also stay updated. There are going to be great many events such as this that we're going to be conducting over the next few months. So we hope and pray that you get to be a part of it. Once again, thank you all for joining us. Have a great evening ahead. And until I have the pleasure and honor of seeing you all again, this is me, Samina, signing off. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.